Hey everybody, my name is Gina Miller. I'm one of the owners and the managing broker for Points Realty LLC in Nashville, Tennessee. We are a real estate firm that specializes in property management and investments. So the CDC moratorium yesterday was big news for us, and I assume a lot of people. So the point of this video is just to kind of break it down into layman's terms to clarify some things, make it easy for everyone. The first thing I do need to say is the disclaimer, which is I'm not an attorney. I can't give you legal advice. I can't replace the advice of your attorney. If you need any more clarification on this, please seek legal help from an eviction attorney in your state. But that being said, for informational purposes, we'll move forward with this. So what is this? Well, yesterday the CDC issued a moratorium. What's a moratorium? By definition, a moratorium means that it is the temporary prohibition of an activity, and in this case, that means evictions. What kind of evictions? That is the big thing that I think people are not understanding right now. It's not all evictions. If there is a true safety, health, criminal emergency at your property that you would normally, under normal circumstances, evict for, as of right now, the understanding is you can still file those and see those through. Again, see your attorney. This only applies to financial hardships that people are going through because of COVID. So this is a financial situation. It's not anything to do with property damage, criminal activity, health and safety violations. Those evictions, again, see your attorney, but those should still be able to be filed. This is just for financial purposes. Now, who is involved in this and can do this? Well, they are going to do an affidavit is the way that this is going to work. So I had this guidance from my attorney, and then one of the trade organizations put out an update that confirmed what he said, which is that the CDC is going to have an affidavit. And under penalty of perjury, which carries its own sentences and fines, your tenants can sign that swearing to all of the following things that say they will qualify for this. So what does that look like? Well, the affidavit will be through the CDC, and our attorney says that he believes most of the government agencies will have it too. Now, that's not confirmed yet, as far as I know, but he feels like that courthouses and like organizations within the government are going to have access to this, but it should be on the CDC site. Most attorneys will probably have it as well. But it's an affidavit, and it makes them swear that they qualify for these things. So I'll go through and just give you what these are. This is how these become applicable to your tenant. The first one is that they are going to swear that they have used their best efforts to obtain all government assistance for rent or housing. So they have to have tried to find assistance. The second one is based on finances, which is pretty generous. But this is the parameters for this, and there are three things that can qualify them. The first one is income. For an individual, it's anyone that makes less than $99,000 annually. That's a good number of tenants that this will apply to. If they file a joint tax return, the combined income can be up to $198,000 annually. They will also qualify if they did not have to file a federal tax return with the IRS for 2019, or if they received the stimulus check that was issued earlier this year. All three of those things, income, prior tax return exemption, or the stimulus check, can qualify your tenants for this if they're willing to swear to the rest of the terms. So then the next one is that they're unable to pay full rent or make housing payments due to substantial loss of household income, loss of compensable hours of work or wages, a layoff, or extraordinary out-of-pocket medical expenses. Again, this goes back to the financial qualification of this. Then the next point is the individual is using best efforts to make timely partial payments that are as close to the full payment as the individual circumstances may permit, taking into account other non-discretionary expenses. And finally, the eviction would likely render the individual homeless, or force the individual to move into and live in close quarters in a new congregate or shared living setting because the individual has no other housing options. So those are the qualifications for this. Now, again, this is for financial evictions, doesn't apply to other things. But then there's an update that came out today, at least from the trade organization that I'm a member of, which is NARPM, the National Association of Residential Property Managers. They gave further clarification, which says that, again, written affirmation by the tenant must be signed under penalty of perjury by all adults on the lease and given to the landlord. So that's a clarification that they've made since yesterday. Another thing is that this order does not affect the ability of a landlord to evict for reasons other than non-payment of rent or ability to charge late fees and unpaid rent. So if you were involved in some of the previous moratoriums that were earlier this year, there are a few differences here. One was that most of those, my understanding was that they only were affecting government-insured loans that properties had. So if you bought a property with cash or a conventional loan, you may have been exempt from those things. This is not that. According to my attorney and the things that he told me this morning, this is all property. So it does not matter if you are an individual renting out your own properties or if you're a property management or real estate office, that does not matter. Whether you paid cash for the house or you have a government insured loan does not matter. It is any property that's residential that has a tenant in place that lives there. If it's their residence, this applies to you. The only differences between a company like myself and an individual like some of you are where the fines are and how much they are, and I'll get to that in a minute. But you do need to know, earlier this year, we were asked to waive late fees. That is not the case right now. You can charge late fees. You can charge all the rent that's going on. So this is an important part for the tenants to understand. You really, if you're a tenant, need to think this through and make sure that you need this help. You should do everything you can, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a property manager. Obviously, we want our tenants to pay on time, but I'm saying from a tenant perspective, this actually can affect you in a bad way as well, because this is not forgiving any of this debt. It's not making it go away. It's still accruing late fees and everything else, and that still has to be paid. All this is doing is saying that they can't put you out of the house while you're having an issue paying it. So regardless of how long you're there, eventually they can probably still evict you for this at some point if you can't catch it up, and it's just going to add more fees. So while you should have open communication with your landlord, while you should absolutely ask for help and reach out if you need it, be realistic and reasonable, because it's going to help you as well. A good example is like when you typically have a property for rent and it's accruing late fees. I always tell tenants, if you can pay some, it's better than not paying any of it, because at least you're not getting late fees on that portion of things. So again, think this through before you ask for the help. The help is there because people need it, and if you need it, you should have it. But don't think that this is just going to go away or it's just rent free, because it's not. It still has to get paid. So landlords, you can still charge your late fees as of now. Again, this could vary by state or county, so check with your attorney and your local ordinances. But at least according to this order, you can charge late fees. You can continue to charge rent and roll over your past due rent. It just is about not putting people out on the street when they don't have any other options. So those are those updates. Let me look through and see what else I need to make you aware of. The order does not affect the state and local eviction moratoriums that are already in place. So the way this was explained to me through this update is that if your state has guidelines that already are the same or more strict than these, then those will stay in place. I don't want to get too much into that. I'm not an attorney, but this is kind of considered the minimum acceptable. So it sounds like, and again, consult your attorney, but it sounds like if your state wants to make these rules tighter or more strict, they can. They just can't back them back down. So this is a minimum. Crimes and penalties. This is where this gets very important, because an argument I get all the time from property owners are, well, if I don't have a property manager or there's not a realtor involved, this doesn't apply to me and I don't have to do this. You need to listen to me very carefully right now. This does apply to you, absolutely. So if you're upset and you want to go around your attorney or your property manager, or you're just your own landlord and you want to go stick a notice on the door, you need to be aware of what the violations for these are, because they're some of the biggest ones I've ever seen in this industry. So I'm just going to read this to you so that you have it just like it states. Crime and penalties. Violations by a person of the order are punishable by a fine of up to $100,000 and up to a year in jail, or both, if the violation does not result in a death. If it does result in a death, the violation by a person is punishable by a fine of up to $250,000 and a year in jail, or both. Now you notice this says a person. This means an individual landlord. This means you that are out there that own lots of rental property or one rental property and you don't have a management company and you're doing this on your own. I'm just trying to stress to you, this isn't something that's just within a code of ethics. This is a federal order and we are all held to this. Now, if you are an organization or a company, the fine is for just the regular offense could be up to $200,000 and a year in jail, or both. And if there was a death in the property, up to $500,000 and a year in jail, or both. Now, where does this come in for the tenants? Tenants, perjury is a federal crime, and it says that right here. Perjury is a federal crime that is punishable by a fine or up to 5 years in jail, or both. So please take this serious. Whether you're a landlord, tenant, property manager, this is a federal order. We all have to abide by it. Please don't try to go around it. Seek out legal guidance. It's there for all of us. And I cannot say enough how much you should utilize attorneys. That's why they're there. They do keep us out of trouble. So again, just to hit the highlights of this, it applies to everyone. It applies to all residential property, whether it's a company or an individual. It is, as of now, good through the end of the year, and it does keep you from putting out tenants, whether you were in the process of an eviction or you're just getting ready to file one. My understanding is set-outs are, as of now, stopped. So again, only financial hardship. This does not apply to evictions based on damages, criminal activity, or anything that falls outside of financial hardship. And it does require this signing of this affidavit promising that they meet the guidelines. So I just wanted to get this out here. Just wanted to explain it to everyone. I know what's going to happen soon is landlords like me are going to start getting phone calls from people that are very upset that their eviction hasn't taken place, that they can't get their property re-rented. Please do not get upset with your attorney or your property manager. There's nothing they can do about it. This was a federal order that came down from the CDC. You can get it off the CDC website or several of the trade organizations or your attorney. A lot of attorney websites, you can probably just pull this up at this point, but that is what we have. Now, can they amend it? Yes. Are there groups out there lobbying for some changes with this? Yes. A lot of this, because we get it, as much as we don't want to see tenants homeless, as much as we know this is a global crisis that's affecting so many people financially and we want to help people, there is this misconception out there that landlords just have pockets that never end, and that's not the case. We represent, I know in our own company, a lot of people that just inherited a property that moved out of town and this is their only property, and they're struggling to get by with this COVID situation as much as anyone else, and it's very difficult to handle the mortgage and the taxes and the repairs, and now this, plus their own financial hardships. Some of them have lost jobs, hours, and wages. So I do know that there are organizations out there right now on your behalf that are trying to get some help for you as well, because it is a two-way street and we do want everyone to survive this pandemic, financially and health-wise. But that's where we are right now. That's what we know. That's what we have. If any more updates come through, we will do more videos. But again, please seek out legal counsel. Please talk to your local government agencies for guidance. Again, we'll give you as much information as we can. We'll try to break it down as easy as we can. Feel free to drop us questions or comments and we'll get back to them if we can. Our clients, you know how to reach us, so we will be there with you. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what do we do? The honest answer is, I don't know, because I can foresee a lot of situations that are going to be very, very tricky with this. My initial thoughts are the same ones when COVID first started. Work out payment plans. Tenants, be open and honest with your landlords. Landlords, be open and honest with your property managers, and try to come up with solutions that will work for everyone. I would also advise people, even though we didn't have much notice on this, reserve, reserve, reserve. You've got to, property owners should be putting back money and holding it for repairs, because this could happen to anyone at any time. You don't know which tenants may have already lost a job or are going to lose a job. So just be prepared as much as you can, and then just follow all the sites that you can that will give you updates on this. And again, I'll say it for one last time, make sure you have good legal counsel to back you up with these things. I hope everyone has a great day. I wish I had better news for you. I know this is going to cause a lot of anxiety and frustration for a lot of people, but we're here to put out the most current information we have and to try to survive this together. So have a good rest of the day. We're here if you need us.